The government's overhaul of visa regulations last September means that teenagers aged 15 to 18 can now work part-time in the UAE, giving them an opportunity to earn a regular salary and learn some vital life skills at the same time. Those skills can be anything from money management to time management, as well as building confidence, instilling a sense of responsibility, and gaining that all-important on-the-job experience. But financial literacy experts say the most important skill for part-time working teens is learning how to manage their money. This includes budgeting, setting savings goals, and even beginning their investment journey to take advantage of the benefits of long-term compounding interest. But where do they begin? Welcome to Pocketful of Dirhams. I'm Felicity Glover, the personal finance editor at The National. Joining me today is financial literacy expert Marilyn Pinto, the founder of Kids Finance Initiative Global, who's here to talk about the benefits of teens earning a regular salary through part-time work. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Pocketful of Dirhams on your favorite podcasting app. Welcome to the show, Marilyn.
Thank you so much for having me, Felicity.
You're welcome. So the topic of teens and working part-time takes me back to when I was 14 and growing up in Australia. I got a part-time job through a friend, washing dishes of all things in a Chinese restaurant on Friday evenings. And that was the only night my parents would let me work, as it wasn't a school night. So my shift was, 4 hours, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And I was earning just $2 an hour, so $8 a week for my efforts. We also got a free meal thrown in at the end of the shift. Some of the nights that I would work, they were brutal because it was so busy. And even today, I detest washing dishes, like probably many people. But I have to say that I did feel quite empowered having my own money, and imagine that that's still the case for many teens today. Would you agree? And can you talk to me about, the types of skills that teens can learn by having a part-time job while they're still at school?
Well, yes, and as you said, I completely agree. I think having a part-time job at that age definitely empowers you especially with regard to money, and that's quite a key observation. The fact that you remember it so clearly and you're able to describe, exactly how much you earned all those years ago and how you felt, it really shows that it made a big impression on you. And I think having a part-time job does have that effect on teenagers. And it sort of, you can club it into three different groups of skills that they get. So the first one would be self-sufficiency. It teaches them how to manage their own time, how to project manage. It teaches them prioritization. So all of these things, which are now, it's their first taste of adulting. And I think it allows them to wet their feet in a way that they're still in control. The second thing I would say is that it helps with their self-esteem, because for one, they're doing it for themselves. The fact that they're doing the work, they're keeping at it. As you said, the work was brutal, but you still kept at it. It really builds up your sense of self-esteem, because you're able to do that. And I think that's really important for teenagers, especially nowadays. It also builds up their competence as they as they progress in the job. But the third set of skills, and I think that's really important as well, is that it helps your interpersonal skills. It helps them interact with people. It helps them grow their network. It helps them relate to other people, much older than them. And this is a really key skill that is going to be very, very useful to them. And the fact that they can get all of this while having a part-time job I think it's a great opportunity.
Absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity as well. And it's kind of, you mentioned, sort of developing interpersonal skills, and interacting with older people. It's almost, sort of you're bridging a generational gap here as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think the EQ that builds up is priceless, because as with any job, your IQ that's a base qualification nowadays. But what can really put you up ahead is the level of your EQ. And I think the younger that you start working and have these interactions with other people, with older people, with different generations, really helps to push that EQ up, and that can be really advantageous.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. Now, through your business, KFI, you spend a lot of time with children and teens, helping them to learn about financial literacy. What challenges do they face when they first begin, and how quickly do they pick up smart money skills and become more confident?
Okay, that's a really interesting question. So I'd like to answer this in two parts. One is before. So before they come to the program, the challenges that they face, and what happens once they're in the program. So before the program, I'd say they're very resistant. Teenagers, young adults are very resistant to learning about money. And this just because there are three reasons for this. One is it's an unconscious incompetence. It's a skill that they don't know they need to know, which is why they don't think it's important. They really have no clue about it. Like I said, unconscious incompetence, and this is they don't realize that this is a skill they're going to be tested on every single day of their adult life, and it's something they're not going to be taught in school. So unconscious incompetence is a key reason why there's this high level of resistance with teenagers and young adults, sort of not wanting to learn about money. The second thing is the Dunning-Kruger effect, which basically says that people of a lower skill in a particular ability tend to overestimate their skill. And this is typically what happens with these teenagers. It might be because they are studying business in school. It might be because they are studying economics, or they're studying corporate finance at a high school or college level, or it might be because they have an allowance or a credit card. But all of these things they make them think that they know about money, they can manage money smartly, when there isn't any relation with that, because studying economics or finance teaches you nothing about handling your personal money. So that's where the Dunning-Kruger effect comes into play. So now you have teens who don't know much about a topic, but yet are confident in their ability in that topic. So do you see what that can be quite dangerous? And the third reason they're resistant is, I think, is they expect to be bored. Financial literacy is, they just think, maybe because of what they're used to in school and the type of education systems that they're used to, they just expect it to be another subject that's going to bore them, and they have enough on their plate as it is. These are the key reasons why there's so much resistance to learning about financial literacy, because and they're not wrong in that, because in many financial education programs, it is taught as a math-based skill. And financial literacy is anything but a math-based skill. So these three reasons, I'd say, are the key reasons why there's so much resistance from youngsters to learn about money. But now let's talk about the after. What happens once they come into the program and they learn about it? And this is where the magic happens. I think this is the most fulfilling part for me personally, to see the scales fall off their eyes, to see them suddenly realize that, oh my goodness, why wasn't I told this before? They're actually horrified to think that they could have started their working life without knowing such important basic knowledge. And I think that's quite key. I think one more part, as a result of the program, they feel smarter, richer, braver. And it just to use the tagline, because they're smarter definitely because of the knowledge that they gain. They're going to be richer because they now know how to manage their money smartly, and braver just because they're able to identify and take advantage of so many more opportunities that they wouldn't have been able to had they not had this knowledge.
Absolutely. And that brings me to my next question, actually, because you have just published a book called Smarter, Richer, Braver: Unleash the Power of Financial Education to Turbocharge Your Teen's Future. Can you tell us more about the book and how parents and teens can apply it, to them, starting their first part-time jobs?
Yeah, sure. So let me first tell you what the book is not about. The book is not an inspirational feel-good book about parenting. The book is also, it doesn't have any sort of 3 quick tips that's going to transform your teens into financial gurus. What this book is about, what it does contain, is some hard truths and some valuable insights. It will explain to you why teens are clueless about money. It will explain to you how important this skill is and how it will transform their success and their lives. It will also show you as parents what to look for in a good financial education program. It will talk about the common mistakes that most parents make with regard to teaching their kids about money. So that, in essence, is what the book is about. I think it doesn't really. It gives you a blueprint of how to teach your kids about money, not in terms of the tactical stuff, because I believe that the tactical stuff should be left to subject matter experts, but but more of what you can do as a parent at home. What are the things that you can do? What is the kind of mindset you can create? It doesn't get into the tactical stuff. I think there's more than enough content out there which tells you about the what and the why. This just gets deep into the problem, makes you understand the problem, because I firmly believe that if you don't understand a problem properly, we're just going to be throwing half-baked solutions at it. But a deeper understanding of the problem makes you really curate a solution that works for your child and that works for your family. And that's what this book is about. It really gives you really deep insights into the problem and to the ways teen learn. So it's not just about what we teach them, but it's also in the way of how we teach them, because that makes a very big difference, especially for this particular demographic. And we really sort of pull back the curtains on what we do and how we do it. And a lot of people have really found it very useful.
Absolutely. And I think as well, for parents with teenagers who are just beginning to start working part-time, it can also help them, because they suddenly, have a regular salary coming in now, what they should be doing with that money and how they should be managing it.
Yes and no. I think it would be a good start, but I think I know it's probably a controversial opinion, but I don't think that just by having money coming in makes you smarter about money or makes you able to manage your money better. Because if that were the case, then every grown up would be financially secure, would be really, really good at managing their money. And we know, sadly, that isn't the case. So why should it be different for teenagers? Why is it that just because they're getting a job and they're getting money coming in, we suddenly expect that to be the answer to their financial literacy problems? That requires a monumental leap of logic, and it doesn't necessarily work that way. Yeah, that's what I mean by yes and no. So while the part-time job is a great opportunity for them to learn all of the skills I mentioned before, like the interpersonal skills and the self-sufficiency and prioritization and things like that, I'm not very convinced that just having a part-time job is going to magically sort of make them more responsible with their money. It does help, yes, of course, but I don't think it's something that we can bank on and say, okay, this is going to be the solution to the financial literacy problems. Because if you look around the world, in most other countries, teenagers have had the opportunity to have part-time jobs, many, many decades ago. But that really doesn't seem to have helped the financial literacy problem. So there's no reason to expect that that's going to be the case now. I don't mean to be pessimistic. I'm just saying that we should be a little more realistic about what we expect from this opportunity.
Absolutely. But I was thinking as well, the question that if, parents, for example, and teens read the book that you have written, and the teens, are beginning to work part-time by using, the advice that you're providing, it will help them to manage their money.
Oh, for sure, because then they understand that this is an issue that they need to be paying attention to, that this is an issue they need to educate themselves on. And I sort of give them the bare bones of it and the different aspects and the different opinions with regard to that. So definitely that would help. I think just sort of building that awareness that this is, bringing them from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence, to them knowing that this is a skill that I lack and I need to learn about it. I think just that is a very, very big step that would be great if they could take.
Yeah, and as you say, where the magic happens. I'm also wondering, teenagers working part-time jobs, and we've discussed, some of the benefits that brings. But what does it help them with later in life when they become older, they're, entering full-time workforce? Does it help them to evolve into fiscally responsible adults with a strong work ethic? What other, sort of things would you see in an adult who had worked part-time as a teenager?
Well, I think you're right about the strong work ethic. I would hope that the jobs that they take are really going to push their limits, sort of push them outside their comfort zone, because this is a time where they can do that in a safe space. Because work is a big aspect of all of our lives, right? We spend much of our working hours at work. It is a really important aspect of our lives, and it's going to be the same. And especially with the next generation now, they're going to have multiple careers over the course of their lifetime. So they need skills that are easily transferable. And I think getting this opportunity to work early on really it gives them, like I said, it gives them a taste of adulting. It makes them realize, it shows them the value of money, that how it's actually earned. Like you said, you earn $2 an hour, and it really made you value that. And and I think that's definitely something that the teenagers can get from this part-time work experience. It's no longer the bank of mom and dad where they just sort of switch a tap on every time they need something. Here they're actually earning their money. It makes them appreciate it more. I think it makes them appreciate the fact that that they're able to do this, appreciate what they're getting at home so much more. So yes, in terms of skills, I think definitely it's a big opportunity, and I really hope this is an opportunity that many teenagers are able to avail of.
I agree with that as well. But finally, what would be your best financial literacy advice for teenagers who are working part-time in the UAE already? I mean, what should they be doing with their money, from saving to budgeting or saving up to buy something major? How should they do that?
I'm not going to give practical advice here because I think there's enough of that. What I'd really like to tell the teenagers who have started work is take the time, make it a priority to get financially educated, because it's not about saying, oh, live, sort of spend less than you earn or something. I can give you these bromides, and it's not really going to make a difference to the teenagers. What they need to know is they need to go through a program. They need to understand the strategy behind the tactics. They need to understand the mindset. They need to understand how to build that mindset. It's not rocket science. It's really simple to do, right? But they need to understand that this is a priority that they should be making time for, because now is the time to do that. The earlier they start, of course, the effects are going to be better. Then, because of compounding interest, they have the most to gain the earlier that they start. So, the best advice I would say is just really take the time to get yourself financially educated properly by an expert, because the kind of returns that you're going to get on that is going to be manifold, and it's something that you're never going to regret. The only thing you're going to say is, why didn't I learn? Why didn't I do this sooner? And that's the kind of response I hear from every teenager who's sort of done the financial education program is, wow, I wish I'd learned this earlier because it would have helped me so much. And I think that this is something that they're going to value for the rest of their lives. It's going to have that much of an impact, and it's going to be a long-standing impact as well.
I have to be honest, I also wish that I started as a teenager as well. It's one of my biggest regrets.
Yes, exactly. And if you talk to most grown-ups, that really is a problem. I know, when I started working for the first almost decade and a half, I had zero sort of knowledge about money. I mean, I had a paycheck coming in, but then everything was going out, and just because, and of course your parents tell you to save and stuff, but it's, again, we don't really listen to our parents, do they? It's the proximity bias. We are too close to them to sort of gain any to appreciate the value of their advice, which is why I say this. Take the time to get properly educated. I don't mean listening to, sort of looking at a couple of TikTok videos or reading a couple of articles. I mean, really do a deep dive into it. Make sure you have really good basics and a really good foundation, because that's going to hold you in stead for a very long time.
Thank you this week to financial literacy expert Marilyn Pinto. If you would like advice on your personal finance issues, you can write to me at pf@thenational.ae. And remember, PF stands for Personal Finance. Please do subscribe to Pocketful of Dirhams on your podcasting app to receive weekly updates. And also leave us a review so we know what you think. This episode was produced by Arthur Edison, and I've been your host, Felicity Glover.